Hello, Cleveland, and welcome back to another edition of the Dogland Podcast. I am Jackson McCurry, and joining me, as usual, lately, Jack Duffin. Jack, how's things going, buddy?
It's good. Well, it is good, and then it's not because we're nearly at the end of these series of podcasts. So there's a part of me that is already missing it, and it hasn't even ended yet. But no, it's really good. Loving the series. Been fun to talk about it. The roster articles seem to have gone down well, but also the salary cap ones people seem to be loving, sort of on particular players, what their deal looks like. So no, fun writing it. Denzel Award's the next one in the pipeline. When that'll come out, who knows?
Yeah, everything's been going great on the site lately. Your off-season roster deep dive series, which we will continue today, has been going great. Your mock contract extensions for Baker, Chubb, Wyatt Teller, those are going well too. The off-season stays busy for us at the Dogland as well as everybody that covers the Browns. Hopefully soon we're talking about Super Bowl championships in February instead of off-season rumors, nonsense, everything. Before we get to the offseason roster deep dive, since we last recorded, Jack, we have the NFL Coach of the Year as the Cleveland Browns head coach. Kevin Stefanski won the award last Saturday during the NFL honors. Well-deserved recognition. What Stefanski was able to do in his first year as Browns head coach to turn a team that was 4-12 and a complete disaster to an 11-5 team that went to the playoffs, won a playoff game, almost beat the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, quite a year for Stefanski.
No, it was a phenomenal year. I think if we wouldn't have won the playoff game, there was a couple of other teams I think were also with a really, really good shot. In particular, I think special praise for Miami Dolphins, Flores. I thought he had a really, really good year there.
McDermott at Buffalo.
Yeah, McDermott, certainly. The work that's been going on there. I think those are the two others. Obviously, even though it's a fraudulent 11-0, I think they got to, or 12-0. Sort of, what is it? Record. I still think if he'd have gone all the way, obviously that would have made him more or less a lock. The fact they weren't good and still winning games is obviously a testament to the coaching work, because something special's going on there. Because the team's not actually that great, not as good as the results were coming out. But no, I think he deserved it. But I'll always say, I'll make the point again, if they ever try to give Andrew Berry Executive of the Year, I'm writing hate mail to the voters. Do not do it, because we've seen a long record of whoever gets Executive of the Year, their team is awful within 2 years. So, got nothing wrong with Kevin Stefanski getting the award. If Andrew Berry gets the award, I'm having a go at some people. Stop it. I love the guy, but don't give him the award. I don't want my team to go down the pan. We've seen it all. We've seen every team. It's gone wrong. Even the years where I was like, we found the exception. Howie Roseman's got it. Howie Roseman's having a mare. It's a disaster. So no, don't do it.
Yeah, don't do that to Andrew Berry. Just let him keep doing his job and just let the results speak for themselves. My thing with Stefanski was his speech. He took pride in winning the award, but just to show the kind of leader he is, he thanked his assistant coaches, he thanked the organization, he thanked the players, and that's just what kind of guy and what kind of leader I think Kevin Stefanski is that he doesn't put himself forward. He doesn't go out and say, "Hey, I'm driving the bus," like Pat Brown's coaches of the past. He thanked everybody else, and I think that just shows what kind of man, what kind of coach, and what kind of leader Kevin Stefanski is.
Can I ask one question? Because lots of people have praised Kevin Stefanski for his improving the culture and everything like that. I thought we already paid a load of money and it was perfect, or had I been lied to?
Why don't you just keep it down over there? Because I know who you're trying to get me into a shoot, as Ken Carmen would say, and that's not going to work. A lot of people have been part of the culture turnaround, but I can say with all certainty, we wouldn't be where we were without Coach Stefanski and without Baker Mayfield. Of course, there's other people that deserve praise, Jarvis Landry included, because I know that's who you were trying to get ruffled me up about. But we would not be where we are without Stefanski and without Baker. So let's go ahead and move to today's topic, where as we continue our offseason deep dive, we are focusing on the linebacker position. And this is another one of those position groups, Jack, where I'm looking at this offseason, and we can't really say with all certainty who's going to be there come 2021.
It's crazy. So I'm trying to... Well, have we got one? I think we've got two. We've got two players in the linebacker room that I would bet a serious amount of money on being there. Let's say if you said the odds are 99 to 1, one side's got to bet $99, one side's got to bet $1. Whoever wins takes the money. There is only two players that I'd bet the $99 on and feel confident that I'm picking up that $1, which obviously, as we say, is a heavy bet. It's not in your favour. But that's it for me. And they can go any which way. The one thing we all know from the start, they don't value the linebacker position. And that's not a particularly bad thing. So if we think about it, the edge rushers are your guys best at stopping the runs, stopping anything up front. They are your pass rushers. You've got your DBs, all about coverage. Then you've got a linebacker in the middle. They're neither going to be elite and as good as a pass rusher in terms of stopping the run, in terms of getting after the quarterback, and they're never going to be in the same category as a sort of DB for their coverage skills. So they're basically like the man stuck in the middle that, I can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And quite frankly, what we've seen with the NFL, they've gone, actually, we'd rather have more people that are great in coverage and focused on that. Yeah, we can have people good in pass rush. We have people pushed up there. And the whole thing is just split. And it's like you're A or you're B. No one wants A/B stuck in the middle, which is your linebackers. Obviously, you've heard me hate on the running backs in the past. There is an exception with linebackers. If you get like a Bobby Wagner, then by all means pay the guy their class. You don't go chasing one, though. It's so tough to find that. If you grab someone and they turn out to be a superstar, then I've got no issue paying a linebacker, but I want them to be top 3 linebackers. Yeah, Luke Kuechly or, as I said, Bobby Wagner. Them sort of freaks. We discussed Joe Schobert, etc. last year. No, I don't want good. I don't even want great. They have to be elite. If we're not talking about them annually as the top 3, top 5 linebackers in the whole NFL, nah, I ain't paying them.
No, we talked about it, like you said, last year. Joe Schobert everybody wanted to bring him back. And, looking at what he got in Jacksonville and how he really took a dive, trending downward last year, was not one of the top ranked linebackers, didn't perform very well. And he's stuck in a linebacker room in Jacksonville where he's got another guy with him, Miles Jack, making just as much money. And when you're trying to build a winning football team, I don't think you shouldn't be investing nearly $30 million in 2 starting linebackers. That's just not a formula for success, especially when everybody's focused now on either having elite coverage or elite pass rush or even both. The linebacker position is kind of phasing out. Jack, the other day I was playing Madden. I was showing you like how I have my defense built up. I have my 4 defensive linemen. I have 1 linebacker. And then I have 6 DBs. And I feel like that's what Joe Woods is trying to build with his defense. Everybody there was people that wanted to get rid of Joe Woods after 1 year because the defense wasn't as great as we all thought it could be. But I also feel like he didn't have his right personnel. And, we had a lot of holes on defense, and I don't feel like we should be switching out assistant coaches especially with coordinators, until we see what he can do with a full personnel set at his disposal.
Yeah, and Andrew Berry made the decision last year. He went, sod the defense. We have one question. There was one question the Cleveland Browns needed to answer last season. One. Forget everything else. They came into it. Is Baker Mayfield the guy? They had to answer that by the end of the season just gone. Because you have to make a decision on, do you want to give him a 5th-year option at the end of his 3rd year? Do you want to potentially extend him? Do we need to draft another quarterback? That is a franchise-altering decision that you need to know. You couldn't go, hey, let's add a little bit on each side. We just need to be okay. and we'll judge Baker over the next 2 years. That's not an option. It's just not realistic with the amount of money you have to commit to things and how you have to do it. So they made the decision of going, hey, let's put everything into the offense, sign your big free agents, put your money there, which you did Conklin and Hooper. And it really showed. The offense worked, it clicked. There's things we need to do better with the wide receiver room we've spoke about. But this is the offseason where everything's going to be on the defense. We've got 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. I would expect at least 3 of those to be on the defense. I think we're going to see free agents going into the defense in a few different spots. They're going to add in some veteran help. And the other important thing to remember is if we've worked out Baker wasn't the guy, having a load of money invested in your defense and free agents is a bad thing because you're sitting there trying to almost tank out to get a quarterback, or not tank, go whole Sashi level. I'm talking you don't want to waste money, because if it's a case of you sat there with an extra 15 million last year and then you're using that because Tom Brady becomes available, Dak Prescott becomes available when you decide Baker's not the guy, well, quite frankly, I would rather bring in Tom Brady and see what the Bucs have done compared to going, oh yeah, we spent 30 million on free agents and we weren't sure if Baker Mayfield was the guy. So it was smart, it was calculated. Joe Woods is fine. I've got no issue with what we saw last year. It was a similar scheme that I ended up Tampa using in the playoffs against Kansas City, and it worked. What was the difference? They have a lot of talent there. We didn't. So the upside's huge. In terms of where we go with the linebacker room, 5.9 is the average. I think that's going to be down to 5. We saw it a lot last season with the Browns. Don't think they're going to carry the 6th linebacker. They're going to put that into secondary. They want to play nickel. They want to play dime. Joe Woods keeps banging the table, telling everyone. Last season, obviously, we were really short in coverage players, especially DB. So he had to almost play 2-3 linebackers where ideally it'd have been 1/2. What are we looking at? I don't think we're going to have 2 starting linebackers on the field. I think we're very much going to take a leaf out the Patriots running back room of past, where they went, look, we're not going to pay a load of money for a do-it-all running back. What we're going to do is have a great pass rusher, a great run stopper, a great coverage linebacker, and it's literally going to be on Joe Woods and the defensive staff to sort of scheme up when we want different ones in there. They want one that's okay at everything. So I think rather than sort of 2 starters, 2 rotational guys, which is what in the past I've looked at, I think this room's very much going to be 1 starter, 3 rotational guys, each ideally specialising in a different area, and then 1 depth guy that is pretty much special teams. Linebackers are one of the most popular special teamers across the NFL, and it wasn't all bad last year. Yeah, it weren't pretty, but we finished with 3 of the top 25 linebackers in the NFL according to PFF. So for all you guys, like, it was a disaster. They outplayed Sheldon Richardson, who got paid a load of money and wasn't as good. He was okay, but our defensive tackle room, our edge room, our cornerback room, our safety room, they're all a lot worse than our linebacker room was last year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you say we had 3 of the top 25 linebackers in the league last year, I mean, it's like, were they that bad? And people said, like, people were complaining about the linebacker room, and it was like, that was probably the only room on the defensive side of the ball that we should have been not complaining about, but people were complaining about. When you look at the starter, the main guy last year was B.J. Goodson, who was a gem of a find in free agency on a 1-year deal, because he was a rotational guy with, I think, New York and Green Bay before he came here and played great when he was on the field. He did have a couple injury hiccups, but great return. I think they want to bring him back, but, you know, who's to say he'll go out and get a big money deal? And I'm not saying he's going to get Joe Schobert money, but he's going to get a bump and pay for sure. Like, I think the Browns do want to bring him back. I feel like Goodson would probably want to come back, but yeah, it's a 2-way street. I mean, it comes down to the money, obviously. And if they don't go and get him, I mean, there's some intriguing options out there. One just won a Super Bowl, but he's probably going to get a big money deal. There's some intriguing options out there, to say the least, if they look for a starting linebacker.
Yeah, so I'm going to put 3 names out there and bench them. Levante David, Matt Milano, Jayon Brown. No, no, no. It's not happening. Sorry, guys. I've like the Grinch on Christmas. I've stole all your dreams. They're not spending that much money on a linebacker. It's not happening. BJ Goodson is the obvious name to come back here. Um, and they go with that. And when we talk starting linebacker, you'll see lots of other teams, that linebacker will play about 100% of snaps. It's not going to be the same case with the Browns. I think if you're talking around 66%, that would be a lot for one linebacker. It's very much going to be a team effort of rotating, moving around. Shock horror. This is the moment where actually less analytical, less in step in a way with the Browns front office, which compared to previous front office, I am very much in step with. A lot of the stuff coming out there, I'll be banging the table. Everyone will go, "You're mad," and then Andrew Berry goes and does it, which is pretty much the opposite of my John Dorsey era. But I'm intrigued by KJ Wright from the Seahawks. So he's older, so doesn't fit their age profile. 12 million over 2 years, so 6 million a year. I just think that's a really, really nice bridge. He's not sexy. He's just solid at everything. Slightly above average. And that for me, I'm willing to pay for that at 6 million a year. I'm not getting into the race of the Levante David silly monies, but would I do that? Yeah, I would. So I'd be on the phone to KJ Wright and going, look, do you fancy coming to Cleveland, being that heartbeat of the room, having a run at a Super Bowl for the next couple of years? And I can't see a reason why he'd say no. The Seahawks, God knows, it's a bit of a mess at the moment. They've already sort of drafted his replacement a year ago, so he's unlikely, I would say, to return there. You never say never, but I think with a reduced cap year, they'll go, look, we've got his replacement, we'll spend money somewhere else. Russ Wilson wants more O-line money, so that means the money's got to come from somewhere. So, I think give KJ Wright a call and see, hey, do you want to come in? Has he got the speed that lots of people want to focus on? No, not really. But I think that's good enough that if you've got a load of speed and you're playing 6 DBs, they can provide the speed. He's going to be that trusted vet. And BJ Goodson was great at it. He was the quarterback of the defense. He was the one calling plays, making sure people are in the right spot. KJ Wright's hopefully got the experience that he can come in and do that job. For me, it's just BJ Goodson plus. But I've got no issue if BJ Goodson's the guy they bring back.
Same. If they brought back Goodson, I think that's a solid move. But if they bring in KJ Wright, I mean, this is one of the guys, when I've looked at a free agent list, like this would be a guy I would bring in if they can't get Goodson back. He's one of the few guys left from that Seattle defense that won the Super Bowl. I think it's him and Wagner, I think, are the only two remaining. But solid player, productive, still at 31 years old. You get him on a 2-year deal like you suggest, and you try to find that speed linebacker that people are drooling over, especially after, the way Tampa's linebackers were playing in the Super Bowl. It gives them some more time to find that guy, and Wright can come in and contribute. Play for a playoff contender, a Super Bowl contender like Cleveland. It would be a good move, and it'd be a smart move by Andrew Berry for sure.
Yeah, and I think they would like to find that solution in the draft. And I think if any of the names who are on rookie deals, I'll mention them now, but we'll discuss them more when we get into positions. But your Taki, your Mack Wilson, your Phillips, if any of those guys were ready to be the starter, I think they would love to go, hey, we've got one of these 3 rookies that have stepped up. And when you bring in a guy on a 2-year deal, you're not saying to all these guys, hey, we've given up on you. And I think that's an important move for mentality, but also it's about upside, because if any of these guys do step up next year, they come back to camp and suddenly it clicks. Josh Allen was literally one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL for 2 years, and he changed his mechanics and it's made the difference. So you can change around, you can become another player and step up to a new height. But for me, bringing that proven vet, they're not going to do it in the draft. Anyone talking about a 26 taking a linebacker, you're drunk, go to bed. Could they do it on day 2? It wouldn't surprise me if we see sort of an annual tradition of a 3rd or 4th round linebacker out of the Browns forever. But yeah, that starter is not coming in anywhere other than free agency. I think it's Goodson or KJ Wright. It depends how expensive they want to go.
Yeah, they are not drafting a linebacker at 26. I do not see it happening. I stated that like a month ago. I said there's no way unless this guy plays. It said he's listed as a linebacker and he's really an edge guy. Then I don't see them, pulling the trigger on drafting a linebacker at 26. I'm with Jack. The earliest you probably see it, maybe late second round. We do have a late second round pick, but I'd say third or fourth round. I feel like that's like the prime spot, and that was last year. I mean, we were all like hoping like Logan Wilson. Uh, I can't even remember the other names from last year's draft class, but like Logan Wilson was the guy, and everybody was like, "We'll get him at 76 or whatever pick the Browns had in the third round last year." But yeah, I think that's where you'll find if they're looking for a potential starting linebacker, that would be the prime spot. Would be like third round, maybe late second if they really like a guy. You mentioned guys on their rookie deals. Sione Takitaki, I think, took a step forward in year two last year. Was obviously one of the best at stopping the run, and he was okay as a tackler, okay as a pass rusher. Struggled in coverage, but casual Browns fans that don't really dive into the stuff, they're gonna be like, well, he had a pick six against Philly. That was just one play. Yeah, he had a great coverage play, but I mean, he took a step forward. I think a lot of people kind of wrote him off after year one because he barely saw the field. Everybody thought this was a wasted pick, but he showed he can play in this league, and I think he's got a role on this Browns defense, at least for the next couple of years in a rotational spot.
Yeah, no, I think he's certainly got a great spot for the next 2 years where they'll look to use him while he's on that rookie deal. So he finished as PFF's 12th best linebacker and second best run defense in the NFL for linebackers. So he can do a job. And it's if you're going, hey, he's great at that, he's not as good in coverage. Well, you've got two downs when you're going to use him. Obviously, hey, you'll listen to me and here you should pass a lot more on first down. You should. But while the NFL's stupid, we can use Taki to our advantage, get him out there for the first two downs and really get the value for him. Because quite frankly, once we're on to third down, it's all about coverage linebackers. And I don't care if you want to go 4-0-7, then I'm up for it. So no, he's got a solid role to play. Yeah, if it's first or second down, I've got no issue seeing Taki out there. Who knows, in a year's time, we might be going, this is the guy. We're going to give him $4 to $6 million a year, and he can be our long-term future at linebacker. He's not sexy, but he's going to play there at 66 snaps and sort of be the next guy there. So I'm more excited about him than any of the other three. We'll get onto him, but I do like it.
Yeah, I like him too. And you were talking about like bringing a veteran in and how it might, spell the end potentially for rookies. I feel like when they brought in Malcolm Smith, I think that might have helped Taki. I think it kind of pushed him more to say, hey, I need competition. I'm going to go and prove to these coaches that I do have a role in this team. And I think Taki, stepped up, accepted the competition, and played better because of it. You talk about the other rotational linebackers, and God bless you, Mack Wilson. You're great for hype videos and social media presence, but on the football field, you are not a good player. And I'm willing to put money down that I don't think he's on this roster come 2021 opening day.
Yeah, I think if they want to talk about converting roster spot and moving into the social media team for the Browns, then I think he's got an option to still be a Cleveland Brown come week one. But that's the only route I see to him being here. He is consistent, though. Don't fault Mack Wilson for his consistency. He has been the 94th best linebacker in the NFL for each of his 2 seasons, out of 100 and out of 99. So he doesn't deviate from his sort of role in life. He's just not good. And to be fair, he did have a couple of games this season where he was good across the board. So there is a good player in there. I'm not saying it's awful, but if you can only get it out twice across the whole season, you can almost survive as a 5th, 6th choice wide receiver doing that because you can be brought out for splash plays and see what they can do. Unfortunately, you can't do that as a linebacker because teams will just go, hey, we'll run against that guy. He's only good one every 50, 60 snaps. It's just, you can't do it. So I then thought, hey, Mack Wilson, he's going to be good at special teams. There'll be a special teams route to get him on this roster. I was like, I never give up on a guy, even if they're bad at whatever their role's meant to be. I'm like, I love a special teamer now. Didn't in the past when we didn't need them, but we need special teamers now. So I was like, let's see. Can he be my fifth linebacker? He played 3 special team snaps last year. So there is nothing positive I can pull for this guy. I tried. It's a no, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and he blocked me on Twitter and didn't even tweet at him. So, like, the fact that he's searching his name on social media to see the hate, like, tells me he's not as focused on football as people would seem to think he is. I did mention Malcolm Smith, and if he could come back on a cheap, like, $1 million deal, the one you suggested in the article, I'm fine with that. I thought he played well when he was on the field. I know, a lot of people kind of, badmouthed him for some reason, but, like, Jack, when you talk about he's good at something, he was the 7th best linebacker in coverage last year, according to Pro Football Focus. So he's good at one thing. And, as much as people say, well, we need help in coverage, bring back Malcolm Smith at least for 1 year. I don't think that'll hurt. Obviously, for $1 million, it's not really going to hurt us in terms of the salary cap. If he can come in and continue to play well and, buy more time for maybe some of the other young linebackers in the room that we potentially might add or already have, it won't hurt to bring Malcolm Smith back.
I think it's a really nice move. Obviously, the one thing, if you're signing KJ Wright, you need to check Malcolm Smith, and the two dudes like each other. Obviously, they were both together in the Seahawks, but you never know. Just because 2 guys on the same roster at the same time doesn't mean they actually like each other. But no, this is the perfect example of what I'm on about. Hey, we've got the 2nd best run blocker in Taki. We bring back the 7th best coverage linebacker in Malcolm Smith. This is the pieces that go really well. And suddenly, if you sign that KJ Wright, Goodson, let's say $4 million a year, KJ Wright is stretched to 6. You've got a guy that's good at everything. Quite good actually at coverage, KJ Wright, if I remember rightly. And then you're going, look, you've got a great run stuff you can mix in there with him. You've got another great coverage linebacker like Malcolm Smith, and then you put someone else in there who maybe can do a bit of rushing the passer, maybe someone else who's just great at tackling, and then you've got loads of options. And it's going to be a rotation game because, quite frankly, I ain't paying the 12-15 million a year to get a linebacker that can do everything, because as well, once you get them, their career arc, it's not quite as bad as running back, but there is sort of a decline naturally of the position, partly due to the contact, and just it is where the position's at. It's the 2nd most likely position for the body to deteriorate and sort of play to drop off. So, no, I think Malcolm Smith, especially if it's $1 million a year, you're madness to turn that down.
Without a doubt. And I think it could buy some more time for the next guy we'll talk about, another rotational linebacker, Jacob Phillips, who was the team's 3rd-round pick last year out of LSU. He did struggle throughout his rookie year. I feel like, the injuries played a role in that because, he has to miss time, obviously missing snaps in practice, chances to get better. And, I just feel like hopefully we get a full offseason, depending on how J.C. Tretter and the Players Union have it, where, Phillips can have time with the coaches, have time on the field during OTAs and mini camps to get those reps, to get those snaps, to get better. And, he could be another Taki type where we go into 2021 and he steps up and plays a role in the Browns defense and contributes the way, the front office and the coaching staff thought he was a 3rd-round pick. So it's too early to write him off. I know a lot of people just want to write people off after one bad year or one bad game, but, with Phillips, give him some more time, see what he can do. And I think he's got a chance to be a player. We just need to see better production and hopefully more solid development out of him from the coaching staff.
No, it's nice that almost all the way through this series, we've been talking about players that were drafted. It doesn't matter where, sort of 3rd round, even 2nd round last year, 2nd round the year before, and we're going, hey, they'll be there in a rotational spot and we'll see what happens. In the past, we'd be like, oh, this guy's the best person in the room. He's not even played a snap in the NFL, and he's the star of that room. And it's just a different tone because this is where the plan was always to get to. And too often we were seeing, hey, we're thrusting these guys in there and it's sink or swim and then we'll cut them. And now where the depth is really good, and it's not sustainable at this level. I'm not naive there, but you sat there going, hey, second, third, fourth, fifth round picks, yeah, they can do a couple of years of sort of the fourth, fifth guy in a room, and we'll see what happens. So it's great that we can see these guys develop, and if they don't make it, no loss, because you're bringing in so much talent, and the fact that the front office can go out there and go, hey, Malcolm Smith, no one wants him. I think that was even during the season, just after the season started, we picked him up. $1 million and seventh best coverage linebacker in the NFL. Yeah, why not? That sort of move is great. It's really that. It's not the sexy pickups. It's not a sexy signing in free agency, but it was a really, really productive one. So, no, I think that rounds off a room really nicely of potentially if you go KJ Wright, Taki, Malcolm Smith, and Jacob Phillips, you're looking at what, 6, 7, less than 10 million for your top all five linebackers. Once we add the depth piece in there, that's nice and cheap.
Without a doubt, cheap and productive. That's I think Andrew Berry would do victory laps if that was the case. When you talk about the depth linebacker, this is a guy that'll mainly be on special teams. I mean, I don't see a fifth linebacker being out there unless of injuries, of course. We had guys like Elijah Lee, Tay Davis last year that were in this role, special teams contributors, had to maybe step up and play a few snaps because of injuries, but we could bring probably one of those guys back on a very cheap deal, or this could be a scenario where we draft a linebacker in day 3 or an undrafted free agent were to step up, because these guys are mainly going to be playing special teams. So do you have any other potential names out there besides Lee and Davis that could make sense here?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go spend any money on there. So it never makes sense to really go and get a free agent to fill out that sort of fifth linebacker spot, or fifth really in any room. You want to be relying on that guy as sort of an upside youngster. So whether that's someone in UDFA wins it in camp, or maybe they go bold. At the end of the day, there's nothing stopping them going, why not spend another third round pick? If you get Goodson on a 1-year deal, you get Malcolm Smith on a 1-year deal, you've got Phillips, you've got Taki, third round pick, stick him in at fifth linebacker, and then you go, look, there's 5 of you competing. Whoever's best, 4 of you are back next year, and 1's going to be gone. And you just keep working that through. And there's no harm in doing it, of just having an endless cycle. And someone going, why would you spend a third round pick on the 5th guy in a room? Because the roster's got a lot of talent on it, and you're drafting a year in advance, because you're going to get free agents fill in the roles. And when lots of people are looking at the draft, they're almost trying to look at it in a silo. You've got to take 2 steps back and be like, right, we've got free agency first. Free agency, you're going to fill all the holes. There's not going to be a starting hole on the entire team anywhere, even on the defense, that isn't filled in free agency. We're going to deal with all that. The draft's going to be very much about, right, we took this guy in free agency because he's on a 1-year deal, and we're going to draft someone better in the draft who's going to overtake him in the first 4 weeks, or maybe before the season even starts. So don't worry too much that, they've said this in the draft. Everything changes with the draft once free agency finishes. So, focus more on free agency, and we'll fill these holes at the bottom. So I've got no issue with, third round pick here, anything that high. But I'd be surprised if this front office, they'd literally have to fall head over heels to ever spend a first or second round pick on a linebacker.
I mean, if there is a Devin White or Luke Kuechly or Bobby Wagner type there at 26.
Devin White's not good.
He's not?
He's not great. He's completely overrated. He's had a really nice end to the season, and he's not been good across the year.
But Twitter said he's great.
He's basically, across the whole season, been a little bit better than Mack Wilson. Yeah, you heard that right. He's not been good.
Rest in peace to your mentions after this episode drops.
But if people watch one game in the playoffs and go, well, hey, this guy's amazing. It's like, he wouldn't be in the playoffs if the team was relying on him across the season. So, and that's why I love a tool like PFF, because quite frankly, I don't watch every single game that isn't on TV. I watch all the primetime games. even at like 1:20 when they kick off in the UK. I'll watch them all, but I'm not watching the linebackers for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers across an entire season. And you've got a great resource like PFF, and to be fair, there's other resources out there. Don't run off a box score, but let's look at it. 20% of snaps, linebackers this season, and we're looking for Devin White was 88th out of 99. So I was wrong. He was a few more spots above Mack Wilson. He was 6 spots above Mack Wilson. And it's one that, he was good in one asset of the game. So one of the 4 things, he was good at pass rush, which is quite frankly probably the least needed part of him. And very often fans will mistake highlight plays for what happens on the rest of the game. If you get beat on 59 snaps and you make one highlight play, you might get into YouTube, but the fact that you've not been good on all the other plays really hurts you. So he was good week 15. He was good in the divisional round. Quite frankly, they haven't got him that great in the Super Bowl. If we're going to be honest, he got 64.9 with PFF off his 74 snaps. But no Devin White. No, don't do it, Jack.
But if they can find like a Luke Kuechly or Bobby Wagner type linebacker in 26, and they're just in love with them, then I think they pull the trigger on a first round linebacker, but I don't see that happening. And sorry to burst every Browns fans bubble that says we need a linebacker, but it's not coming at 26. So plan accordingly on draft night. Jack, as we wrap things up, go ahead and tell people where we can find this article, the rest of the offseason deep dive, and go ahead and plug your Twitter.
Yeah, so the article's all at thedogland.com or just dog.land. So check them all out there. They're all linked back. So if you land on the linebacker one, you can then go back and look at all the different positions. The Twitter's at Jack Duffin, DUFFIN. Loads of you guys already do, but always happy to answer cap questions, roster construction. Tweet them at me, I'll answer them. But if you run out of characters, then just flip over to the DM, pop it in there, and then I'll get back to you later that day. So love chatting Browns. Jack, where can people find you?
As always, find me on Twitter at JackMcCurry08. Check out the dogland.com. Obviously, this podcast. We're all at the Dogland on Twitter, at the Dogland on Facebook. We'll be back on Monday to talk about the cornerback room. And next week, we'll be wrapping this up. We got the safety room on Wednesday. And I think special teams and our conclusion on this series next Friday. It's kind of hard to believe it's already done. Right around the corner from not the combine. There's going to be somewhat of a combine, which I'm sure we'll talk about next week when we have draft episode with Alex Hale. So everybody stay tuned to that as well. And as always, until next time, go Browns.
Go Browns.